Welcome, everybody. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at verifiedinvesting.com. In today's video, we're going to go over 8 crypto charts. One, of course, is going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a lot of work to do for the bulls to get outside of some resistance to continue its push to the upside. Some of these other ones are continuing to get beaten up, but we're just going to jump right into the charts to show you what I'm looking at. Here's the first chart. Okay, hold on. Let's add backstage. There we go. Bitcoin. Here's that resistance level. First level. Look at all of this resistance on Bitcoin sitting at $65,787. As you can see, we got above that, peaked above it temporarily, and then got rejected. And now we got close to that level again. This is a ton of price consolidation and a ton of resistance on Bitcoins. Once we can make a continuation move above that, your next level of resistance is 67,870. And then really, the max upside until we can get some price consolidation for me would be $70,746. Now, I do anticipate a continued sell-off if we fail to get any closing prices above here. If we get below $59,930 and close below that, your next level of support is $56,411. You zoom out in the charts, look at you got this low pivot as well as a bunch of sideways consolidation right in that area, which is why I'm targeting 56,411 if we can drop below that 59,930 level. Ethereum is staying a little bit weaker as well. Look at these low pivots. Low pivots in the charts act as support until they're broken. Once they get broken, then all of a sudden, as you can see, not only Ethereum, but also Bitcoin, this support level or previous support level is now resistance. So here's the line in the sand. $1,829.94 is the upside target for Ethereum. If we do start breaking above that, got a secondary low pivot right here at basically 1982. If we can get into this level and hit this downsloping trend line, this would be a good sign for Ethereum because then it would slowly march all the way up, getting above this this horizontal trend line into this resistance trend line again. As you can see, first hit, secondary hit, third hit, fourth hit. This would be the fifth hit of it. And what I would be looking for is price to consolidate right underneath it, finally break out above. And then once we can make a continuation move above 1982, then we're going to surge all the way back up to at least this high pivot point at around $2,400 peers. On the downside, here's a low pivot in the charts. As you can see, we did briefly get below it at 1541. Once we break that support level, your next support level on the way down, you're going to stop right here a little bit at 1411. However, 3183.26 would be an additional support level. And this is a major support level on the price of Ethereum. Keep your eye on this though. Shoulder, head, possible shoulder for a continued breakdown and a measured move that takes you right into the support level right here on Ethereum. Solana is continuing to be weak. I'm zoomed in on the charts a little bit, but look at this chart of Solana. From the highs right here at $294, we're back down below $72. We did break this low pivot point, and I was actually anticipating it getting a little bit lower. I have a ton of price consolidation right here at 56.39. However, price action, as I would mention, this previous support level became resistance, got above it, and finally made a continuation move and broke this downsloping trend line here. So now $67.48 is the bottom for Solana, and this is your buy level. Not only would it be another support of this pivot low that recaptured it as support, it would also be a retest of the scene of the crime breakout of this downsloping trend line. Your upside next target would be $79. Once we break above that, though, all of a sudden it takes us up to this low opening price of the red bar candle, right about $92. That would be, for me, the max upside target. And it really depends on what's going on with Bitcoin. What I would like to see is SOL continue to consolidate sideways underneath this resistance, and then we can finally make a push up to $98 or just below $100. Once we break that, we're going higher. If on the downside, we recapture this downsloping trend line to the downside and get back below 67.48, then all of a sudden our next level of support is $60.19. But really, where I'd look to pick it up if it does break these two levels would be 56.39 on the chart of SOL. Let's go into jump into XRP. It's interesting because I've actually had to turn on logarithmic charts with a lot of stocks. With crypto, it used to be reserved for that. However, you turn on logarithmic charts and it's kind of a lot of noise. you take off the logarithmic charts on the crypto stocks or crypto coins charts, it gives you a clear picture. Upsloping or downsloping trend line, pivot top here, secondary hit, third hit, fourth hit. Price is consolidated right underneath it. So what I'm looking for after I zoom into the charts is what price action does right here. So $1.1267 is basically the floor at the moment after this nice, almost a bottoming tail and sideways consolidation after a recapture of this low pivot point. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting rejected on this downsloping trend line. So what I'm anticipating is price action get into the crux of this triangle. If we can break out again and make a continuation move above this, then I can see XRP coming all the way back up to about $1.31. And then once we break that level, then we can make this continuation move all the way back up to about $1.50 on the chart of XRP. Now, we haven't broken this downsloping trend line with a continuation move, and we're getting right on top of this support level again, which is signaling that this support level is getting weaker and weaker. Once we break this level again, you will stop right here at $1, basically $1.05. If that breaks, look at this next level of support. You zoom way out in the charts, pivot top from the highs of July 2023, and now it's be sitting at 94.86 before this massive push to the upside, where it ran from just about $1 all the way up. Let me go ahead and try this again. $1 all the way up 288%, all the way up to $3.66. I had a lot of people telling me, oh, it's above $36. Excuse me, $3.66. $15 is the next upside target. But then look what happened. Pivot top, pivot low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then this continued selling pressure. So this is the anticipation. As long as we maintain price action below this, we are in a downtrend on XRP. We need a confirmed breakout and continuation move and these pivots to get taken out, and then we can see further upside in XRP. Again, $1.12 gets taken out. My next downside target would be $9 or 94 cents, right in that area. SUI, nice downsloping trend line again. The logarithmic chart's turned off. Pivot top here, secondary hit, third hit kiss, fourth hit, finally broke out. Look at the move on this breakout of SUI. Notice these low pivot points. This wasn't an area that I would short. However, this would have been where I was looking to take profits. And then after it broke out, never came back and retraced, made this huge push to the upside up to $1.43, continued to consolidate underneath this downsloping trend line. Finally broke out, but never really made a big continuation move. We did make a continuation move right here. However, we're consolidating right underneath this resistance level without any pierces above 86 cents right here. And so that's why we're staying under pressure. So now what I anticipate is price action getting back down to 57.10 all the way down to 54.76. Originally, I thought this was going to be a retrace of the scene of crime, but actually it's this right about this low pivot point on the chart of SUI, which is why I like that as support. Eventually, I think that we are going to get a pretty massive move to the upside, but on a technical basis, if we're still in a downtrend, we're still in a downtrend. We actually have to wait for charts or price action to recapture these major pivots, and then we can start pushing up. Right now, we're still in a bear market on most of the cryptos, crypto altcoins. Zcash. Here's what I notice on ZEC. You got this pivot top here, higher high, but then you got a lower high. What does this look like? Shoulder, head, shoulder. The reason I mention this is because it gives you an idea of where a downside target could be. You connect this neckline right here, take the apex of the head all the way down to the neckline, take the break point, take that exact same measurement. It gives you an idea of where the move is. And look at this. It was into this pivot top. And so there was a lot of people, these pivot lows right in this area, ton of support. It actually got way below that. But look at what's kind of forming here. You got the shoulder, head, potential shoulder. So it can give you an idea that we're still technically in a downtrend on ZEC. So if this head and shoulders pattern forms, we can get an idea of where the measured move is or where the downside target would be for ZEC. So let's pretend this is a neckline right here. And again, we haven't formed this other shoulder. However, if this does form a shoulder and it bounces off this trend line, we can see that the downside move from the apex, from the break, depending on where it breaks, would take us all the way back down to about $307.67. As you can see, there's just a low pivot in the charts. And so this is where you would look to pick up ZEC for a potential long. Now on the upside, we'd have this neckline that almost got a retrace to the scene of the crime right there before this break. It actually looks like it did retrace to the scene of the crime before this breakdown, which means that if we can get back above this upsloping trend line on a daily closing basis, then all of a sudden ZEC has a potential to then take our get close to this the higher end of the right neckline or the neck shoulder at $620, and then potentially even head up as high as $637. All right, DOGE, Dogecoin. It's currently in a downtrend. Pivot top here, secondary hit, third, fourth. Look at this price consolidation. We're trying to break out. As you can see, we tried to break out here. We haven't made a continuation move above it. So what does that tell us? It means we do have a bottoming tail and a ton of support sitting right here at 0.0818. This is your line in the sand. As long as price action can stay above this and get above this down sloping trend line, then Dogecoin has an opportunity to get up to about 9 cents. And that's not a huge move to the upside, but that's where your next level of resistance is. And that's only about an 8.21% move. But it tells you that all these altcoins are under a lot of pressure. We start getting below 0.818. Then all of a sudden, this low pivot comes into play at 778. And then you zoom out in the charts. There's not a lot below it. That takes us all the way back to this low pivot around 7 cents before this huge move to the upside. So this is really your support zone, all the way from $7 or 7 cents all the way back down to basically 5.5 cents on Dogecoin. Right now, man, so many different altcoins are just continuing to get pummeled. AVAX is no exception. AVAX. Look at this continued selling pressure. Pivot top, pivot low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, bullish or bearish consolidation. Now a waterfall, just bearish. Took out this top pivot point right here. Here's the level of support that I'm looking at. Now that we're at 6,258, I'm looking for about another 25% move to the downside. You zoom into this pivot area, and you are going to catch a little bit of support before that. Right here, major support at 532, all the way basically down to 5.3514. Could even head a little bit lower, but this is your support zone on AVAX. Major support zone. Ton of price consolidation in this area before this massive move to the upside. So when price action does get back into 5.323, this is going to be a lot of support for this chart. All right. Usually we do about 8 minutes, but I gave you a little bit longer today. Wanted to cover 8 altcoins for you in addition to Bitcoin, well, including Bitcoin, but everything's under pressure. Bitcoin's under pressure, so are the altcoins. Bitcoin could start breaking up outside of this resistance, then we're going to see continued move to the upside. However, once the support levels break, then there's a lot of downside left. Anyway, that's what I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you guys did, please make sure you're smashing that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and ring that bell so you can get notified when we drop these videos, so that way you can stay informed of what's going on in the markets. And we'll see you next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.